Well, things are starting to pick up. There's a lot of moves that are being reported. Several MLS teams are starting to get active. The winter transfer window is officially open. There are managers being announced. MLS training camps are about to start. There's only two MLS teams left without a manager, the Vancouver Whitecaps and Toronto FC. But two vacancies have been filled in the last couple of days. Well, New York City FC rumored, Fabrizio Romano is reporting that they're about to hire a manager, which we're going to talk about that first. And then the Philadelphia Union have officially hired Bradley Carnell. Welcome to MLS Moves, everyone. Hope you guys had a great New Year's. I had a great New Year's. Excited to do another live stream. It's been almost 2 weeks, I think, since we've done a live stream. So I've had an itch to get back on here and chat with you guys. It's always fun to do a live stream with you guys. If you haven't already, make sure you like the stream down below. We're going to try to get to 50 likes on this stream. I think we're already at like 10 or 11. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the little bell notification so you never miss any of the streams. And share with a friend. Let's grow the audience as much as we possibly can. Jose Gonzalez says, hallelujah. He's got the hands up. Isaiah Carter says, moves like MLS moves, right? Exactly. There's a lot of MLS moves going on right now. Baldwin says, howdy, appreciate it. Mr. says, hi, Will. Mr. Hope you had a great New Year's. Maybe Ant says, Pep from Wish in the thumbnail. Yeah, I think so. At CFG, you have as long as you're hired by a CFG club, you have to be bald. It's a prerequisite. You have to be bald to get hired by a CFG. Baldwin says, Carnell at Philly is interesting, probably a disaster. We'll talk about that in a second. Davey95 says, yo. Cringe says, MLS moves. We missed you, brother. I missed you guys too. 12 days is quite a bit, a long gap in between streams. I love streaming and talking with you guys and having you guys ask some questions. Davey says, how about that NYCFC hire? Okay, we'll go ahead and jump into that and talk about that first. So NYCFC fired Nick Cushing, who had a very up and down tenure as the New York City FC manager. I was never sold on him. I thought it was a lazy hire. I want to say he was the women's coach. I don't think he was an assistant under Ronnie Deila. I think he was just the Manchester City women's coach. Either way, they hired him after Ronnie Deila left for, I want to say it was Sander Liege of Belgium, I think is where he left for. I thought he was very inefficient as a manager, very, very uninspiring hire as a manager, especially because who owns New York City FC? It's CFG, right? And he just never really panned out and was mediocre. And so they made a move after they kind of stalled out in the playoffs. They are rumored to hire Pascal Jansen, the English manager who has only coached. Well, he coached 2 times in the Eredivisie, and then I think he last team he coached was in Hungary. This is an interesting managerial hire. Now, Pascal Jansen was actually the guy who replaced Arne Slot from the current Liverpool manager at Alkmaar. He looks like he has a pretty decent resume as a manager. He's finished top 4 in every season that he was in the Eredivisie, and he got fired after 4 years. And I think this is a solid hire by New York City FC. He's a veteran, or he's coached for several years. He's not new to coaching first team ball like Nick Cushing was, at least in the men's division. I think this is a good hire by them. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the Ronnie Deila hire, which Ronnie Deila there's a lot of people on the fence about if he's a good manager or not. But I think that was a good hire for Atlanta United. And regardless if he had some struggles or deficiencies in the Eredivisie, the Belgian league, wherever, he won an MLS Cup trophy with New York City FC. So I think that this Pascal Jansen, however the Dutch pronunciation, he's got a Dutch father, hire looks pretty good on paper, and they need somebody who can come in here and motivate these young guys and help elevate this team. This is a CFG-owned club who demands winning championships, except Man City now, I guess, because they've hit a pretty bad slump as of late. And by the way, Pep Guardiola is the only manager, I think, in the entire world who could manage Manchester City and have the slump he's had and not get fired. I believe if Pep finishes, 14th or 15th at the end of the year in the Premier League, which I don't think that's going to happen. But if he did, he would be the only guy not to get fired. So either way, they have high expectations, at least for Man City and their other clubs. This is a step in the right direction, I think, for New York City FC. And I'll be very curious to see what he does with New York City. And I give this hire probably a B+ to an A-. I think this was a good hire. I wasn't too familiar with him before they had made the hire, but after looking at his resume and his track record, I think it's a good hire. And I think that he's going to have New York City FC competing at a pretty high level. Now let's move on to the other hire, which was Bradley Carnell to Philadelphia Union. Bradley Carnell had one season at St. Louis City FC, or excuse me, St. Louis City SC, not FC. And they were first place in the Western Conference as an expansion team. It is very hard to have that type of success in Major League Soccer as an expansion team to finish first. I want to say that the first team in MLS history to win their conference is an expansion team. So it's very impressive for him to have done that, especially with their limited resources. And he got kind of done dirty by St. Louis City, to be honest with you. He had a slump of a half a season. They fired him in July. And they didn't even give him a chance to have a transfer window to correct some of his mistakes, to let him get some new players in here and see if that could help, rejuvenate this team and make them competitive. They didn't even give him that opportunity. They just went ahead and pulled the plug on him and fired him this summer, which I think wasn't fair. Like I said, leading them to the first place in the Western Conference as an expansion team is very impressive. So he gets a chance with Philadelphia. We know that Jim Curtin had an up and down tenure with the Union. Now, they didn't necessarily give him a lot of resources to succeed, but Jim Curtin was a pretty good manager with all things considered in what they were giving him resource-wise. So I think Bradley Carnell could be a good fit for the Union. It's all going to be dependent on what kind of money, resources, their record, we've looked this up a couple times, is like $2.7 million for a transfer record. They're going to have to spend more money than that if they want to compete in MLS. It doesn't matter who their coach is. Like, you're going to have to spend some money. I'm not saying you have to break the bank, but you're going to have to spend some money. And maybe there was stipulations with Bradley that, hey, look, I want to come to this team, but you're going to have to do something. It can't just be the status quo, or it doesn't matter what we do, that's not going to work out. So I'll be interested to see how he succeeds with them. I'm going to share this real quick. This is the transfer record for the Philadelphia Union. Yeah, so Mikel Uwa is 2.55 million euros is their transfer record, which is absolutely crazy in modern MLS. There are teams spending that on TAM players at this point. So they're going to have to spend some money. Now, we've talked about the Union being very good at bargain hunting. Gazdag was a huge signing, very good player for 1.6 million. Obviously, Wagner was very good. They've had they were able to get Andre Blake, who is a linchpin, a very, very reliable keeper, the best in MLS history in the draft in 2014. They've been very fortunate and lucky with some of the players that they've acquired and that they've developed, but they're going to have to spend a little bit more money if they want to compete in Major League Soccer. So we will see what happens with him. We'll see what kind of resources they give him, and we'll see if it benefits them at all. Let's see. We got a couple responses here. Don't want to let you guys or make you guys feel like you're left out. D-Life says, Happy New Year, Will. D-Life, Happy New Year to you. 2025 is going to be better than 2024, I think. And 2024 was pretty special. So that's big shoes to fill. But I think we're going to have a better year in 2025. And, man, I miss MLS. I can't wait for the season to start back up. Cringe says, Inter Miami needs defenders. They're moving too slow. We will get into that in just a second. I'm going to transition into player movement. I wanted to get these coaches out of the way and talk about what I think they'll do at their new clubs and give a little bit of feedback on the hire. But we will get into some of the moves and rumors that are currently out there. Eric says, what do I think of the Galaxy, or what do I think of the Galaxy's early moves and going for the Champions League 2? We'll get into the Galaxy here in a second, but I do like some of the moves that they're rumored to be making. I think that it's going to help them out quite a bit. And I think that that's, especially if they're wanting to make it to win the Champions League, right, or the Champions Cup, they're going to have to make some moves. They're going to have to be very proactive if they want to compete and win their first ever CONCACAF Champions League. Let's see. Mo Football says, I appreciate you being here, Mo. Will the legend be kind? Yeah, everybody's nice. Everybody's really nice normally in the chat. And hey, we might even talk about Ronaldo a little bit too, because I think that is definitely an interesting topic to have. I'm actually going on to the battered MLS later to talk about Ronaldo to MLS, so you guys should tune into that as well. Okay, so let's start with this. We're going to start with the LA Galaxy, okay, because they have been cooking right now. Let's start off with them. So they have been rumored to be interested in the veteran center back, the Danish center back, Matthias Zanka, I think is how you pronounce his name. He currently plays Anderlecht, and I think he played in the Premier League for a couple years. This would be somebody that I would guess would be a replacement for Yoshida. Yoshida is currently a free agent for the LA Galaxy. I don't know if he's going to re-sign with them. It's not looking good at this current moment. I mean, he is 36 years old. Now, this guy is 2 years younger, but if you look at when Yoshida signed, he signed 2023. So it's about in line with the same age, and he would sign a 2-year deal. And they definitely need to have some reinforcements at center back, even though Yoshida was good. He is 36, like I said. Jalen Neal got hurt earlier in the season. He never really found his footing as much, or took that step that many people thought he would. And I think that this is a move that kind of tells me that Will Kuntz has his eyes on the on Champions Cup. Like, he's trying to make it reinforcements, and this is what you have to do, guys. In soccer, especially, you see this in the Premier League. Look at Man City. It's why they're struggling. But when you're good, you don't just stand pat and not make any additions. You have to keep adding. And I think that the Galaxy are doing what they need to do to really keep their foot on the gas and try to keep potentially, be the back-to-back champions in 2024 and 2025. They want to repeat. And these are the kind of moves that you do if you want to if you want to try to do that or win the Champions Cup, which the LA Galaxy haven't won the Champions League in their existence, or maybe they did win it in like the 90s when it was named something else, but in this format they have never won it. And on top of that, they just want to be the premier club again in Major League Soccer. Now, and here's another move that they're already making. They're also in discussions, or it looks like it could be close to buying Igor Jesus from Portugal, and he's going to cost around 4 million euros. And I think that this is going to be a TAM signing, not a U22 signing. They're able to. So there was kind of a debate on like how the Galaxy would be able to do this in on Twitter when I shared this tweet. And so the way that a TAM player works, if they have a certain, like a high fee, like $4 million, is you can take their transfer fee and divide it by the length of the contract and add that to their salary. So let's just say he's on a 4-year deal. That means it's going to be $1 million per year. He would have to be making around $700K a year in order to fit it under the TAM, because then it would be like 1.7 if you add his transfer fee to his salary. So that's the way they're able to kind of finesse the system, or call it a loophole, and be able to buy someone like him without him being a DP or a U22. But you can kind of see that this is a reinforcement they're trying to make to try to, I guess, have someone fill in for Ricky Puig when he's going to be out for probably the whole entire season, it looks like. This is a big signing. I am very happy for the Galaxy fans that you have a serious person in charge like Will Kuntz, who is turning this into a serious premier club of Major League Soccer again. The days of poverty for the LA Galaxy are over as long as Will Kuntz is in charge of this team. And it's going to be interesting to see where they go in 2025. And I think that at this point, they have to be the favorites to win the cup in 2025, especially since they just won it and they're being proactive and adding more pieces to their team. So I think the Galaxy are doing very well. The Inter Miami are really the two teams that are standing out to me. I'm going to. I want to go ahead and hit on this Cristiano Ronaldo rumor real quick. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo is rumored to be leaving Al Nassr, and they're asking about where he might go. PSG. Is he going to go back to the Premier League? Is he going to go to Portugal? I think that if MLS was smart, they would do whatever they can. And I'm going to expand on this tonight when I talk to Danny of the battered MLS. But I think if they were smart, MLS needs to go all in and get Ronaldo. Now, I'm not a big fan of Ronaldo. I know some of you might see that with some of my tweets, but I do want him in MLS because of the storylines. Having him versus Messi. Imagine if he plays for the Galaxy, which Jovic could be on his way out. He won't be a U22 anymore. It'll be interesting to follow that and see what happens with Jovic and LA Galaxy. But imagine if Ronaldo plays for the LA Galaxy or San Diego FC, because I feel like he's got to be on a West Coast team. You can't have him in the same conference as Messi. You want to have the opportunity for them to face each other in the MLS Cup final. But if you have him in MLS and you have that matchup between Messi and Ronaldo, it's going to do absolutely crazy numbers. Even if you don't like Ronaldo, even if you think he's the most selfish player in the history of football, it's about the storyline. It's about the narrative. He is somebody you're going to watch, whether you love him or hate him. You're gonna watch him play, and I think the MLS needs that desperately. They need more players like that. That's going to encourage people to tune into the league. And I mean, he has a brand. Even if you don't like him, he has a brand. And that would be crazy to think about him up top if Jovic leaves. Having Ronaldo up top between Paintsel and Gabriel Peck would be absolutely incredible. We'll see if something like that happens. I don't know, though. I don't know if it's feasible. Maybe it says, Will, do you think the Galaxy can keep everyone on their current roster while adding more guys? Seems like we already have too many players on high wages. I think that they'll be able to pretty much keep everybody. They have a little bit of room to add some other pieces. But I think Jovic is likely to leave. And I wouldn't be surprised if Julian Audi leaves too, because he's using a U22 spot. He's kind of pricey. And John Nelson played really good at left back. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them move off of Julian Audi and open up that spot. And then, like I said, Jovic is not going to be at U22 anymore. So he's gonna want a new deal. And I think that right now might be the best time to sell him. So we'll see what they do. They're going to have some room to wiggle and kind of make a couple additions. I think this team is going to pretty much keep the core intact and just add a couple other pieces. I'm not really worried about what they're going to do. I'm not really worried about what they're going to do as far as additions right now. I think that I think they're fine. Let's see. Let me pull this tweet up okay, so let's move on to Inter Miami. It was reported today that Matias Rojas will not be back with Inter Miami. He's likely to be signed with River Plate, which I found interesting. He was really good with Inter Miami in 2024. He was honestly the most underrated signing in MLS, in my opinion, in 2024, just because he was a free transfer. People were saying he was injury plagued. They were saying he wasn't going to be able to contribute much to the team, and he absolutely balled out when he was on the field. He was originally signed to be more of a replacement or sub for Messi when he was playing Copa America, and Matias Rojas played so well, he ended up going to Copa America with Paraguay. So he was going to be too pricey. I don't think it was really in the cards, and they were not going to pay him as a DP, and they weren't going to give him a max TAM deal. If it made sense for the team, they were going to do it. So they let him walk, and they've got a couple other additions that they're rumored to be making. And John Paul says that Fafa Pico he will barely get minutes, but Fafa Pico is a good player, good depth piece. They recently signed him as well. And Inter Miami has got some money to play with, guys. They've got some money to play with. They had, I think, $3 million when we had that cheat sheet of like the gam of what teams had. They had $3 million, and then they traded Leonardo Campana to the New England Revolution, and they were able to add 2 more million, so they're at 5.2. I think they're third in the league, so they've got some money to kind of maneuver and spend to build this roster a little bit more up. So I expect them to be very, very active, especially with the Club World Cup in 2025. They're really trying to compete with it. Guys, we are at 28 likes right now. Let's get to 50. We're so close. We're only 22 away. There's 83 of you in the chat right now. Let's get to 50 likes. Like the show down below if you haven't already. Share with a friend and subscribe to the channel if you are new. This has been a banger so far. I can't believe how. I mean, this is doing really well. We have, like I said, we haven't streamed in 2 weeks. It's nice to see so many of you excited about all the news going on and MLS just right around the corner. Robert says, Gomez, will they convert up to the 3 million in GAM? I can't remember what I don't remember exactly what the maximum you can convert in GAM. I think they changed it recently. It used to be like 1.8 million. Okay, yeah, okay, so yeah, you're right. So 3 million in GAM. Okay, so yeah, I think they will. I don't know if I don't know if that they might have already converted that. I'm not 100% sure, but yes, that is correct. You can convert up to 3 million from eligible transfer revenue. You can do 3 million of that, and I think they sold Diego Gomez for like what 15 to 18 million dollars. So yeah, I mean, they definitely could do that. I don't know if that's already into the equation because there's transparency about how much they had, but there's not transparency about where did that GAM come from. You also get $2 million additionally in GAM if you have 4 U22s and 2 DPs, which is the route they chose for 2024. So I don't know exactly how they're accounting for this, but if I had to guess, I would say that is probably into the equation. Either way, they still have a lot of money. And another player that they're rumored to be signing is, I think his name is Tadio Allende. He's a winger from Celta, Argentinian, 25 years old, pretty talented. Has some, I think he has a history, or he's has some type of relationship with Javier Mascherano. This is a player that you want to sign if you're really trying to compete at the Club World Cup, especially with the depth, because we know that the group they're playing in, they're going to need depth. They're going to need players that can come off the bench and actually contribute. We know that the depth in MLS is not as good as it needs to be, but they are trying to make additions to have some legitimate people who can come off the bench in a pinch, and didn't mean to rhyme there, but it's true, and do something instead of just being completely irrelevant. So we will see if they can get that through. Now, there's also been a couple rumors of the goalkeeper and a center back, but it's still early in the process with those rumors. I don't know if some of those are actually going to go through. I got told last night that they're interested in 2 young center backs. I think they might try to loan Toto Alvarez out. They're trying to maneuver a couple things around and reinforce this back line and goalkeeper. They are not satisfied with what happened last year. So we will see if they're able to do that. But they are trying to solidify the attack. They are trying to have a legitimate chance at Copa or at the Club World Cup, even if nobody believes they do. I don't believe that they do have a chance at winning it, but they just don't. Jorge Mas does not want to be embarrassed at the Club World Cup. Now, there's another rumor here. We'll get to questions a little bit. I just want to hit through. I got a couple more points, and we'll finish. We'll save the last part for questions. Is Miguel Almiron? Miguel Almiron is rumored to be coming back to Major League Soccer, and Charlotte FC is the team that is most interested in him. But there's going to be a couple teams that are fighting for his signature. And didn't mean to stop sharing that. Give me one sec. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Yeah, there's going to be a couple teams fighting for his signature. And will MLS win out? Will he come to Charlotte? There's a report that's going to cost between, I want to say it was 18 million to 19 million is what Charlotte's offering in euros. 18 million, 19 million in euros to sign him. He'll be 31 years old in February. He's still really good, and he would be really good in MLS. I just kind of wonder if that is the signing they should make for 18 to 19 million dollars. Could you get a better player, say from South America, for that kind of money, maybe a little younger? I don't know. Obviously, a lot of MLS fans are very familiar with Miguel Miron. He was very good with Atlanta United and instrumental into winning their first MLS Cup in 2018. Would you guys pay? We're going to start. We're going to do our first poll of the chat. I'm going to ask you guys: would you sign Miguel Miron for 18 million euros? Would you sign him for that? Do you think he's? Let's see if I can get this poll. Oh, I think wrong thing. I hit the wrong feature. But I want to know if you guys would sign him. Would you guys sign Miguel Miron for 18 million euros? Is he worth it? I want to know what you guys think. That's a hefty price tag for a guy who is 31 years old, and he's kind of had an up and down tenure in the Premier League, but he's played better recently. I think it's a little too much, honestly. I think it's a little too much, to be honest. Okay, a lot of you are saying no. Let's see, we got what is this? Okay, so we got 16 votes, 75%, 76% say no. Yeah, see, I just don't think the price is worth it. Maybe if he was 10 million, I would do it. I mean, Charlotte is in a little bit of a different situation because I don't want to say they're desperate, but they can't necessarily lure the same player that other teams can at a fair price. They might have to overpay for a certain player, but I still think that that's a little pricey for Miguel Miron. I do think he would be a difference maker for them, but is he, when we're talking about Major League Soccer, when we're talking about 18 million euros, we're talking about a huge difference maker. I don't know if that's, I don't know. I don't know if he'd be worth it. Let's see. So we have 22 votes. 77% of you say no, you would not sign him for 18 million euros. I don't think that would be a good deal, but we'll see what else they do. Look, this team is willing to spend. They're owned by David Tepper. Tepper has a lot of money. He's proven he's willing to spend. And I think that they could get someone better for their money. But either way, it's not my money. He would be better. I just think they could get. I just think it's a little too costly for what he would give you. Now let's talk about the Seattle Sounders. Now this one is interesting. Okay, there's been a lot of hate about the Sounders. There's been a lot of controversy. A lot of people on the fence about some of their moves, and they just recently traded for Jesus Ferreira. Now, Jesus Ferreira, I'm not really sold on him just because he had one good season with FC Dallas, and that was in 2022. And I just think for what they gave up, I don't think it was a good trade value, honestly, Jesus Ferreira. So the Seattle Sounders traded Liao Chu, $2 million in GAM, and an international roster spot for Jesus Ferreira. That's a pretty hefty price. That is a very, very hefty price. So I'm going to ask you guys in the chat, who won this trade? Who won the trade? Dallas or the Sounders? But for the Jesus Ferreira trade? Because so Dallas got $2 million in GAM, Liao Chu, an international roster spot, and the Sounders got Jesus Ferreira. I mean, I think this is a fleece, especially when you look at Leonardo Campana. I think that now it was more in GAM, but they didn't have to give up an international roster. Well, I think maybe they did have to give up an international roster spot, but they gave up Liao Chu, who maybe could have been sold for $1 to $2 million. I feel like they gave up more capital for Jesus Ferreira than what New England gave up for Leonardo Campana. I would have personally rather had Leonardo Campana than Jesus Ferreira. Let's see. So 17 of you say that you think, or 65% said Dallas beat the Sounders in this trade. Yeah, I just think they wholly overpaid. I think that was a terrible trade on their end. I mean, look at this. 18 goals in 2022. This was the year after Ricardo Pepi left Dallas. Even Ricardo Pepi, Jesus Ferreira is playing second fiddle to Ricardo Pepi, and Ricardo Pepi is 3 years younger than Jesus Ferreira, and he wasn't shining or playing nearly as well as him in their Dallas days. He had the one good year, and then he kind of fell off and he got injured. He's a one-hit wonder, in my opinion. He's okay. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad player. if he's um, if he's a supplemental piece, if he's a role player, he can start, but he just can't be the guy. And I feel like they gave up capital like he is the guy. And then they also signed Albert Rusnak to a DP deal, and they also signed Jordan Morris. It looks like he's going to be a DP. I just don't think that's smart business. And then they're also rumored to trade for Paul Arriola, which I don't know if that's still on the table, but they're just absolutely raiding Dallas, and Dallas hasn't been good in a couple years. 2022 is the last time I think Dallas was made the playoffs. So the Sounders are kind of just trading a lot of capital for honestly a couple mid guys. And I don't really understand what their angle is or what they're trying to do, especially because they're about to play in the Club World Cup. You can't win the Club World Cup with these type of acquisitions. You're going to have to sign other, prominent players. And I don't know what the hell they're doing, honestly. It's very puzzling. I think the Sounders they're not the same club they were a couple years ago that won the 2 MLS Cups. It's really sad to see, especially because we need our clubs like that to really maximize their potential to help elevate this league, and the Sounders are failing to do that. Now, there was also a rumor today, which, some people have debunked this and said it's nonsense and it's not going to happen, about the Sounders potentially being interested in Marcus Rashford. Ben Jacobs, I think it's This Is Sport, if I'm not mistaken, had said that they might have approached Marcus Rashford and gauged his interest to see if he wanted to come to the Seattle Sounders. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. A couple people shot it down, some Sounders reporters. Now, that would be an interesting move, but I think the Sounders are wanting them to supplement the income, or the league to supplement the income, help them pay Marcus Rashford's salary, which is kind of crazy. I mean, Marcus Rashford's a pretty good player, but he's not Messi, he's not Ronaldo, he's not Mbappe, Haaland, Bellingham, Vinny Jr. He's not that level of player. Why the hell why would the league pay his salary? If the Sounders did want him, they should have to pay his salary. There are only a handful of players that are good enough to where the league should do whatever it takes to get that guy over here. Now, he is 27 years old. He's an English national team player, but he's just not good enough to do that. That's actually a crazy ask on their part. If that is true, that the Sounders asked the league to help them pay his salary, that is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I don't think this is going to happen. I don't think he's going to come to Major League Soccer at 27 years old. I think he'll go to another Premier League team before he goes anywhere else. And he probably would go to the Saudi League just because of the salary they would offer him before he would come to Major League Soccer, to be honest with you. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think I'd give this rumor like a 1 out of 10 of happening. Mr. says Rashford's on about 370K pounds a week. Yeah, nobody's paying that in MLS. Nobody's paying that in MLS. So what is that, like about 20 million pounds a year, something like that? Just doing quick math on top of my head. So something like that, probably close to like 18 to 20 million pounds. Yeah, there's just no way anybody's paying him close to that in Major League Soccer. So let's see, anyone else I'm missing? I'm trying to think of any other rumors or anything else I've heard. We hit the Ronaldo earlier a little bit. I think that's all of the things that are going on right now. If you guys have any questions, fire away, ask in the chat. Super chats are welcomed if you feel inclined to help out the chat. Also, guys, real quick, just to help out the channel, there is a link in the description to become a member of the channel. There are a couple different options, $2.99, $3.99, $4.99, to help the channel out. So become a member of the channel if you haven't already. There will be some members-only stuff that we can do together, Q&As, live streams when we get more members in to subscribe to the channel or be a member of the channel. So check out the membership plans. Become a member of the channel if you haven't already, especially if you like the content. Link in the description below. Okay, let's see. Oh, Davey, yes, James Sands. James Sands got a loan move. Let me find this real quick. To St. Pauli of the Bundesliga. This is we didn't even talk about. Oh, okay, I just saw it. Sorry, guys. There's so much going on right now. I forgot to talk about one other thing too. The guy that's in the thumbnail, right? Where is that? I'm trying to find that link. Either way, it doesn't matter. James Sands is getting a loan move for 6 months to St. Pauli of the Bundesliga. We'll see if he's able to have a successful stint. He had a so-so stint with Rangers back in 2022, I think, or 2023. And he was a little younger at that point, and it didn't work out. Came back to New York City FC. He's played very solid for them the last couple of years. We'll see what he can do for the 6 months while he's on loan in the Bundesliga. I think he'll have a successful stint. I think he's a good player. This might be his last chance to get a permanent move to Europe, at least in a top league. So we will keep a close eye on what he can do and if it will work out. Yes. Okay. So Brandon Vazquez. Brandon Vazquez has been a hot topic for Major League Soccer this offseason, right? He has been rumored to be going to San Jose. He's been rumored to go to San Diego. And now more recently, Cesar Merlot is saying that he is pretty much guaranteed to go to Austin FC, which I think is an interesting landing spot for Brandon Vazquez. But I do think he can help him out. He was good with Cincinnati. He didn't really have as good of a stint with Monterrey as maybe you would have liked. But I think he is more comfortable in MLS, which it shouldn't be all about comfortability. We want to push these players to be the best versions of themselves. And to grow, you have to be in uncomfortable situations to grow as a player. So we'll see what happens when he comes back to Austin FC. He's definitely an above average striker in Major League Soccer, but I don't know if he's necessarily worth a designated player spot in MLS. I think that's a little too much of a overpay, in my opinion, to make him a DP. So we'll see what they pay him. I don't really know how. If Austin signed him on a TAM deal, I'd probably give it like a B plus. If they signed him on a DP, I'd give him probably a C minus. I'd say C to C minus. I think you can do better than Brandon Vazquez with a designated player spot. He's a good player. Like I said, I just don't think he's worth a DP. They're saying that he's not DP in Austin. Yeah, if that's the truth, if he's not DP, then I think it's a good signing. If he is a DP, not a good signing. Is C Merlot a good source? Yeah, he's the best in South America, I would say. He is the South American version of Fabrizio Romano. If he says something, it's pretty much guaranteed to happen. He's a must follow if you don't follow him. It's CL Merlot on Twitter. He is the best one to follow on there. Let's see. Davey says hopefully he helps St. Pauli stay in the Bundesliga. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what he can do. Okay, so there was one more thing that I caught. I want to hit this real quick about Peter Musa, the Moose in Dallas. So apparently Dallas is asking 18 million euros for him. I want to say that they paid 12 million for him. Leicester City, Nottingham Forest are both interested in him. He moved from Benfica to Dallas back in January of 2024. A lot of people thought that was the end of his career. It was going to hurt him. Why would he go to Dallas? He has a good season with Dallas, and he's actually on pace to be sold for more than he was bought and leave after just 1 year. So if you look at my tweet, I mean, it helps out. It was a beneficial move for Peter Musa. He went from Benfica to Dallas to maybe the Premier League. That is a good move. That is what MLS needs more of. They need more players like this who can prove they can go to Major League Soccer and that they can improve their quality of play and get a better move, maybe back to a better league in Europe. So this is honestly, I think as long as the money's good, Dallas should sell him, and it really would help MLS. And if they can get 18 million euros, that is just great business to flip him for a $6 million profit or 6 million euro profit in just 1 year. That is what we need more of in Major League Soccer. Okay, I think we've pretty much hit everything. Let's see here. All right, I think it's time for questions now. We're going to go about 18 more minutes. So if you have any questions, fire away. And if you feel inclined to ask, send me a super chat. I would appreciate it. Let's see. Beast Mode says, I can't wait for my hometown Cincinnati to play him again. Are you talking about Brandon Vazquez? Yeah, I mean, I think Brandon Vazquez is a good player. I think he's good for MLS. I'll be very curious to see how he bounces back after a not so ideal situation with Monterrey, but he's obviously very talented. I think he will have a good season when he comes back to Major League Soccer. Maybe Ant says, hopefully they restock their jerseys so I can get Sans St. Pauli kit. Yeah, that'd be nice. I haven't bought a kit in a long time. Maybe I'll start buying some MLS players that make the move to Europe just to support them, because I don't have a team in MLS, but I do support MLS players that do make a move to other leagues, hoping for them to succeed, so that way it helps the league look better. Let's see. Oh, Matthew Garcia, signing Rusnak as a DP was a huge mistake. I agree 100%. Rusnak is a TAM player at best. Using one of your 3 most valuable roster spots on a guy who is above average but not great is just detrimental to the team. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. Speaking of the Seattle Sounders, the Seattle Sounders have completely fallen from what we used to know, or the team that we grew accustomed to seeing back in the day, that won the Champions League, that went to 2 MLS Cups in 4 MLS Cups. They won 2, but they've been to 4 within 5 years. What happened to that team? This team is just kind of taking other team scraps. He is a good player. He is a good player. He's just not great. He's not a DP worthy. That would be a DP for San Jose or a Colorado Rapids. Not to take shots at those teams, but they're not premier teams that spend big like the Sounders have. This is a team that signed Nico Ladero. This is a team that signed Obafemi Martins. This is a team that signed Raul Ruiz and paid $8 million, or Clint Dempsey. This is not the same team that we're accustomed to seeing. Let's see. Will, why do Americans not get DP signings even when they outperform foreign DPs? Well, they just really want to they don't want the American player to be, their price to be inflated. They want to it's why TAM was created. They wanted a mechanism to underpay Americans, which isn't fair. But the only way that an American typically gets a payday is they have to leave MLS and they have to come back. We saw it with Michael Bradley. We saw it with Josie Altidore. We saw it with Tim Howard. We saw it with Clint Dempsey. When you leave MLS, you build your resume, you build your stock, and then you come back and you get a huge payday. If you stay in MLS your whole career, normally you get undervalued and you don't get paid nearly as much as you probably should. Michael Pelly says, who are the Galaxy going to sign to fill in for Ricky Puig? Would a 1-year Pogba deal work for that? So the Galaxy have a rare situation. If Ricky Puig does not play the full season, he will, if he doesn't play the full season, they can put him on the injury list and use that DP spot at least for a year. That's why I thought it would be interesting if they could have signed Gio Reyna, because it was kind of like a perfect situation. I don't want Gio Reyna to play here permanently, but I would be cool with Gio Reyna playing here temporarily. So that would have been a nice situation for both parties. It's not going to work out. Doesn't look like Gio Reyna is going to leave. So it looks like this Igor Jesus could play in his spot, or maybe Marco Royce they're relying on him. They have Cerrillo as well. They're probably going to rely on someone they already have to fill in for Ricky Puig, just because they don't want to sign anybody to a long-term deal with him being out maybe only 7 to 8 months and then have to worry about getting rid of that guy. I think that they'll probably have a replacement on the team, that they're going to use someone that's on the team already. MLS needs to be a springboard for players like Musa. Exactly. It helps the league's perception when players come here, do well, and end up getting a better move going to a better quality team than they were on before they came to Major League Soccer. What are your thoughts on Bradley Carnell with the Union? I hit on that a little bit earlier, but I think it's a good hire for them if they give him the resources to spend and help him out. Davey says, Toronto or Vancouver, what's going on with their searches? It's been quiet up there. So the last thing I heard about Vancouver was that they were likely to hire an international coach, whether that be South American or European. I haven't heard anything about Toronto at all. Nothing about Toronto. No idea what they're planning. But Vancouver is likely to hire an international coach. Jonathan says, what do you think of Click to Atlanta with DC still having him take up a DP slot? Well, I think that's really good business by Atlanta and really bad business by DC United. Having him as a DP while he's not actually playing for your team is absolutely crazy, but he's a good piece for Atlanta who could either be a depth piece or a starter if need be. And he's a good player still. I think he kind of just lost interest and really wasn't as motivated in his last days with DC United, which is sad, but I think he's a pretty good player, and I think it's good business for Atlanta. It's bad business for DC United. Michael Pelly says, if they would just raise the max over 1 million, therefore TAM over 2 million, just that little bit would open up so many more potential players. if they would just get rid of the designation of transfer fee, like counting it as a DP, so you could spend $6 million on a player, but as long as their salary was in a TAM range, it wouldn't count as a DP. That would help out a lot. Something like that would help so much. Pedro says, when will Ricky Puig return? GOAT. Probably sometime, maybe earliest I would say is July. The absolute earliest is July, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play this year, honestly. Just to be careful and conservative with his recovery. You don't want to rush him back too soon and get him injured. Guys, we have 90 people in the chat. We're at 53 likes. Let's get to 60. If you haven't liked the show already, like it down below. Let's get to 60 likes before the stream ends. Hell, let's try to get to 70. I think we might even be able to get to 70 before the stream ends. So like the show down below if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel. Robert says, since Garber said no significant rule changes, what do you think are some things maybe not super significant that could help this season? Well, they've talked about introducing a intra-league transfer or purchasing rule. We haven't got clarification on what that means and how that would be allotted or how you would buy them with what currency. But something like that, I think, would really help this league. That is one thing that when you think of Major League Soccer really hurts this league. You can't buy any of your own players or loan players. That's not common in this league. I think once we start seeing teams loan other players to certain teams and being able to buy best players, like, for example, Hani Mukhtar is in a small market in Nashville. If the Galaxy wanted to buy Hani Mukhtar or New York City FC wanted to buy Hani Mukhtar, imagine being able to buy a player like that who is proven in the league, bringing him to your team and trying to build your team around someone who you know is a proven commodity in Major League Soccer. That, I think, would help out significantly. Or other players like Cucho Hernandez. If the Seattle Sounders or LAFC wanted to buy Cucho Hernandez for $15 million from the Columbus Crew, that would help a lot to have a player like that, some transfers in the league. We're the only league in the world that doesn't do something like that, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Roka says, do you have any soccer team overall? I mean, even outside the country, one that you consider yourself as a supporter? Yeah, I'm a huge Barcelona fan. I've been a Barcelona fan since I fell in love with soccer. So Barca is my team, and I love the USMNT. My second national team, just because of my family, is Germany. So my three main teams are Barcelona, USMNT, Germany, and one of my teams I love watching play is also Ajax. You know that the connections that they have to Barcelona, so it's just a natural fit. I like Ajax as well. Rusnak was the best player on the Sounders. He's literally good enough for a DP. He had a career high season. Yeah, but he's not. He had a good season, but this is not the same quality DP that this team is used to signing. Do you think Rusnak is better than Nico Ladero? And honestly, too, he had the best season on the team because they didn't really have any other good players. Jordan Morris is a DP. Raul Ruiz was hurt and is washed. The Roldans are decent, but they're not DPs either. Pedro de la Vega was a huge disappointment this year compared to his price tag. I mean, I think that he was the best player on a team that that didn't really have anybody to compete with. Like, who was he trying to compete with to be the best player? Is the Messi to City rumor real? It doesn't make sense to me. No, I don't think it's real. I think Fabrizio already shot that down. I don't think there's any chance that he's leaving Inter Miami. They would not let him. Contractually, they don't have to let him leave, and I don't think that they would. Speaking of Messi, Wingcake says they should make returning Americans to MLS not count towards the cap, so a sort of DP. There was rumors about that a couple 7-8 years ago, kind of having a domestic DP, an international DP, I think something like that, but it didn't work out. They've had so many suggestions of rules that they didn't do, which is crazy. I think they should either just get rid of the rules, make it simple, or add some more mechanisms to bring more talent. We'll see what they do, but MLS is kind of slow walking. They really haven't made any huge rule changes since the U22 rule, which was 5 years ago, which is kind of crazy to think about. Matthew Garcia says MLS should ditch Apple. I agree. I made several videos on that. They've got to do something to get people more engaged and watching the league. Let's see, Cytex or Cy1Tex or either way. I feel like Toronto should try going for Jim Curtin. I don't know if Jim Curtin wants to coach this year. I think he wants to take a year off and just kind of reset. I think that he's kind of burnt out. I mean, he coached the Union for 10 years without a break. I think he just wants to kind of just take a year off, reset, and just kind of be more selective and strategic about what his next move is as a manager. Soccer Daddy says visa delay for Vancouver international coach. Is that true? Is that what it is? I haven't seen any reporting on that, but I did hear that they were targeting an international coach. D Live says, wouldn't it be crazy if Seattle got Ronaldo and both Ronaldo and Messi were at the Club World Cup? That would be crazy, but I don't think there's any chance that Ronaldo would go to Seattle. I think if Ronaldo were to come to MLS this year, he would be very, very selective on which team he would go to. I think he would have complete control of his destination. Let's see. I associate Will to LAFC. Not sure why. My friend Nick Chastain has the Voices of Black and Gold, and I've been on his show several times to talk LAFC. I'm more than willing to talk about anybody's team, any podcast. So I did make a lot of appearances on his show talking about LAFC. Maybe you've seen me on his channel a couple times. Maybe. Michael Pelly says raising the max salary for U22 players to the TAM rate would be nice, with the team making up the difference over $200K hit. Okay, let me ask you this. See what you guys think about this. So if you see right now, you can convert up to $2 or $3 million in GAM with each transfer, right? And I've been preaching this for years on Twitter. What if the transfer fee, the whole entire thing, that you sell a player, so look at Chicago, look at Atlanta, 50 million, 40 million in transfer fees. What if you can convert all that to GAM? Imagine if a team had 40 million in GAM. This would incentivize teams to sell players, and it would reward them for doing it. It would reward them for doing it, and then they could add and sign more young players. Take 40 million, sign $5 million players, sell them, and it just completely replenishes itself and organically helps teams out and rewards them for buying and selling players. That would be a simple rule that I would suggest they make. I don't know if they'll do it. We'll see if they do. Let's see. If they stick with Apple, they should at least lower the price. If they stick with Apple, they should get rid of the paywall. As long as you're an Apple TV subscriber, which is $5 a month, you should get Apple or MLS Season Pass. You shouldn't have to. It's just the way that they have it done is just so it's idiotic, honestly. Matthew Garcia says Netflix. Yeah, I made a video about that too. I think Netflix would be a good partner for Major League Soccer. Guys, we're 64 likes. Come on, can we get 6 more likes to hit 70? We got to hit 70 before the stream ends. 70 likes would be crazy. Let's try to hit 70 before the stream ends. We got 83 of you in the chat right now. Appreciate everybody joining and stopping by tonight. We're going to try to go an hour, probably a little bit over 5 more minutes before we end the stream. We might do another one of these next week if there's some more news that picks up in MLS. Stronger domestic players in MLS would benefit the USMNT. I'm not a USMNT fan, but the strongest U.S. teams had their core of MLS guys. No proof that this European route team has done more. I think they need a good coach. We'll see what they do with Pochettino. That will tell me if that has had any difference in the quality. But there is a huge disconnect between the USMNT fans and MLS fans right now because there are no core MLS players or USMNT players in MLS. So we'll see what happens with that. But that is part of the disconnect with MLS right now. That is a true statement. That is a huge disconnect. Roca says, do you think MLS and Liga MX has the interest to join Libertadores? I know CONMEBOL generally wants to, but their president and the big clubs don't want to. Well, CONCACAF has to prove it. FIFA has to prove it. I think they want to do it, but it has to make sense. I think it will happen eventually. I just don't know when. I don't know when it's going to happen. Let's see. So the Vazquez deal is done. Well, that's okay. We'll see what the deals or the specifications are with the deal and how much he's getting paid. John Paul says, how many signings do you think Miami will make this month? Because so far it's only been one. So Fafa Pico. Let me see. I'll read you this message I got real quick. Let you know what they said. Just give me one sec. Okay, here we go. I was talking to someone about this last night, and they were saying that. Let me pull this up. Okay, so they're targeting 2 center backs, another winger, and a goalie, and I think that's outside of everybody they've already signed. So they're probably going to sign a total of 3 wingers, including Fafa Pico and the guy from Celta. They're going to sign 2 center backs and a goalie. And I wouldn't be surprised if they signed another midfielder, especially with Gomez being out. I would not be surprised to see them target somebody in the midfield just to give them a little bit more depth. Mr. says if Ronaldo went anywhere in MLS, it would probably be the Galaxy. You see, I got that one right, Mr. I didn't say what you wrote. But yeah, the Galaxy I think would be a good fit. And honestly, it felt like he was always destined to go to the LA Galaxy. We'll see if it actually happens. I agree fully with the full 1-of-1 transfer fee to GAM, but I don't think these owners want to spend more. They only see profit. But that's the thing. If you do that, you don't necessarily have to spend more. You can spend whatever you want. You just have more money at your disposal. And this could help a team organically spend more without having to break the bank. So if you sell $40 million worth of players, you can spend $20 million or $30 million or $10 million, however you want, rather than having to only be able to spend it on like a transfer fee of maybe 1 or 2 players. It just gives a lot of these teams more financial freedom. So that's why I kind of like it. And it would be organic growth, which would be nice, right? We'll see if that happens in the near future, maybe. Could you make a video of your top 5 small changes MLS could help with the roster? Yeah, that's a good idea. I might do that. I've got a list of different videos that I want to make. I'll add that to the list. Could you make? Yeah, I'll definitely add that to the list, Michael. Jaden the Man says, I think Leagues Cup has to die for Copa Libertadores to be a reality. Well, the thing about Leagues Cup is they're contractually obligated to do this for a couple more years, or at least as long as the Apple TV deal is alive. That was included in the package. So I don't think Copa or Leagues Cup is going anywhere anytime soon. Matthew Garcia says, if MLS teams were to play at Copa Libertadores, they would need to switch to another streaming platform because who's watching it on BN Sports? I think that if they merged MLS and Liga MX to Copa Libertadores, there would be several streaming services, platforms that would be interested in that. ESPN, Fox, TNT, Paramount, NBC. A lot of people would be interested in that. Charles says, dude, what if the Sounders actually landed Rashford? I mean, it would be interesting, but does he really move the needle? I mean, is he worth giving a Messi level deal to get him over here? I don't think he is. I mean, it would be cool, but does he really push the league forward? Is anybody running out to get an MLS season pass membership to watch Marcus Rashford? I mean, I wouldn't. Okay, this is gonna be the last question. Has there been any news about the Open Cup having more first team participation instead of the second teams? So there is going to be, because they're going to reform Leagues Cup, I think, to where there's going to be more teams in the U.S. Open Cup. I don't know how many there will be, but I do think that they're going to be. I do think that there's going to be more first teams in U.S. Open Cup. Okay, this will be the last one. Do you think this year the primary and secondary transfer windows, it will be the biggest influx of talent we've seen in MLS? I think it could. It just depends. MLS the last couple of years have spent more money and brought in more talent. But is the well dry? It's to be determined. We heard more rumors at this point last year of players coming in. So it's to be determined. The window. So MLS is a little weird. You can add people, I think, up until March to the team. So there's still 2 months. And the window just opened up, but there's a lot of time for MLS teams to add players before their window closes. It's really weird in MLS. So I think it could be a very busy transfer window, and I think that it's going to be exciting, and hopefully we're able to do another stream like this next week. Guys, it's been a fun stream. We're 1 hour live. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Like I said, if you haven't liked the stream down below, we are only, we are 2 away from 70. So help us get to 70 before the stream ends. 2 away. Sub to the channel if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. It helps us out. It helps us grow. It supports the channel. And also, if you haven't, make sure you check out being a member of the channel. There's a link in the description below. It helps the channel out. It helps me do this. If you like my content, it really helps me out, actually, because I want to keep making more content for you guys because I love making it, and I think you guys like what I make. So consider becoming a member, and I will do some exclusives for the members, maybe some videos, maybe some exclusive live streams, Q&A. We can play FIFA if you want to, FC20 or FC25. I'm always going to call it FIFA, but FC25. There's a lot of good perks of being a member of the channel, so check it out in the description below. Also, hit the little bell notification so you never miss a video. And until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.